watching clips, the best moments from our live streams every Monday and Friday. Don't miss out. Watchale. Scoop a loop. Haha. Favreau tailoring Skeleton Crew released to YouTube Analytics. What? Let me
Yeah.
read a little bit of this. This is right off your presses there. 40 minutes ago at the time of our video recording. Many people in the media and the fandom expressed surprise that the Lucasfilm new Star Wars show Skeleton Crew is being released Monday, December 2nd, 24 hours earlier than initially announced, and have been asking why there has been a last-minute scheduling change. Our insider, Disney insider Sparrow, reached out with some very interesting information to answer that question. And their intel reveals how closely Jon Favreau and his team are watching the fandom and how they are tailoring their efforts to match patterns among Star Wars channels. As Sparrow explains, one of the artifacts that was left over from the KK administration was access to analytics for YouTube. It turns out pro Jon Favreau channels do not live stream on Mondays. So by moving Skeleton Crew on to Monday, it would allow them to watch the show and review it through the week on the days that are most beneficial, which typically is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Our inside contact reveals that Lucasfilm is watching YouTubers so closely that they even have systems designed to analyze video transcripts for keywords in order to identify who is supportive of Favreau and who is an adversary. And they are using information to strategize not only marketing, but also timing of the projects. And I'm going to read this last line, then hear from you.
Sure.
Sparrow says that the level of detail that Lucasfilm has on other YouTube activity is so high that it strongly suggests that you are getting inside data from YouTube itself. What is going on here? Wow.
This was surprising information, but as I later talked on the paper, it actually makes sense with what we know. We've speculated, I've speculated for some time that Lucasfilm has contacts inside of all the major social media things, which includes Twitter, or X as is now and YouTube. And one of the evidences we have for the YouTube element is, if you recall, the down button, which was very popular. I like to use it when I didn't like things. I wanted people to know this video is garbage, right? When we had that, we could express our views publicly. And if you recall, that button's been disabled, and it was disabled shortly after I believe Ms. Kennedy had put out a video that some got tens of thousands of dislikes. That was so embarrassing, and then instantly YouTube removed a standard, element of their videos, which had been in use for years, but they removed it because apparently one person was upset. So we know that Lucasfilm has contacts at that level, because we saw them change one of the most fundamental principles of their videos, was allowing people to publicly say whether they like or dislike it. Now you only know if they like it. You can have 1,000 likes, don't know that there's a million dislikes. You just don't know, right? And so we've had some evidence of that. This was information that I didn't know, and it was news to me, and it makes sense to me, because we've also in the past, I believe, other shows have premiered earlier than was initially announced, and that suggests that the Kennedy regime was using those analytics for their own benefit, saying whoever they thought was going to support those shows, they would then tailor the release to that. That's, again, it makes sense looking back as to why other shows we had last minute changes in release date on Star Wars, and now we've had a last minute change. And basically, 1 week in advance, we hear of a change that is coming 24 hours earlier. And my contact says it's because they looked at it and they said the people that generally seem to be hostile to what Mr. Favreau is trying to do with Star Wars, or hostile, like the purists out there who are hostile to anything that isn't Lucas or whatever. And they found in the analytics, they tend to stream, live stream and do their conversations on Saturday, Sunday, and so that weekend stuff tends to be when it happens. And then they found that in broadly across YouTube, we're not talking about the major channels here, because I'm going to actually reference the major channels like our friends at Midnight Edge and our friends at Doomcock, but because they've analyzed those as well. I didn't put that in the article, but I'll explain it here. Broadly across YouTube, the more sympathetic sites who are hopeful for Star Wars tend to do live stream conversations and reviews on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays of the week. One channel that was actually mentioned that they seem to be aware of is a channel that is a wonderful channel. It deserves to be much bigger than it is, and the member, the creator is a friend and a member of my Patreon. Is Zach, Zaxx. If you aren't following Zach,
Yes,
Zach's, I believe, live streams on Wednesdays. That's when I come on.
love Zach's.
Zax is wonderful. Zax, if you or any of your team is on the chat, your name was brought up in the conversation I had this morning.
Wow.
Your name was brought up, and as an example of a website they're aware of, a YouTube site that they're aware of that has been, and they're at least in Favreau's opinion, fair to them and not been inherently hostile and fanatical against them, and so they're aware that you're streaming on Wednesdays. So for channels like you and for channels like Latino Slant, which we're doing this thing on Friday, right? Releasing it on Monday night gives everyone a couple of days to
Hmm.
watch the episodes, to come up with opinions, and then to do a real discussion of it, rather than putting it on Tuesday and then everyone sort of ramming in quickly their commentary without processing it. There's been times when we've seen things, and we initial reactions, we love it or we hate it, and then we think about it again, right? I think you've had that, Paulie. I think you've
Hmm.
had that. Very honest. You said, I saw it again and I rethought my opinion. You have a lot of integrity, and you always will state, okay, I changed my view on something. So you want to give people time to view it, and they seem very confident that putting this out there will galvanize at least those who are open to the possibility of good Star Wars to put out good information. If they time it otherwise, there's people that are going to be waiting to just nitpick and tear it apart. And they don't want to give those people as much breadth. So that's a strategic choice. And so it shows how far they're analyzing it. But my contact said that, look, this kind of data doesn't appear to be normal analytics that most companies have, right? There appears to be inside information that only YouTube would have, that they're coming to conclusions of. So it means that people inside of YouTube are continuing to talk to Lucasfilm and provide them access. So that's sort of how the oligarchy works in the world that we're in. And now at least someone who I think cares about Star Wars is using the oligarchy for their own agenda. That's interesting to me.
There also must be some sort of, I think, first of all, there's got to be a lot of confidence in this show.
Yeah, there is.
And I believe our Chris Gore
Mhm.
saw the first 3
Oh,
episodes,
good for him.
and they were like, "This is great for kids." Like in
Well, that's wonderful.
the
That's
production looks amazing. Like the money is in the is in the production. So, did you hear anything else from that conversation or that those reactions,
Well,
Fletcher?
I mean, I'll self-aggrandize because I've got my critics in the chat, right? I mean, again, you don't have to even believe. You can believe I'm making all this up. Whatever. I just don't care anymore. But whatever. They said to me, well, they may not have figured out who I am, right? They're still trying to figure out who I am, which is my contact, right? Code names
Mhm,
Sparrow, whether you like that name or not. And they haven't figured out who I am yet, but they seem to be aware of who you are. So they are aware of who you are. They're aware of your Patreon. And as you've noticed recently, a lot of the stuff that I've said has been more rapidly confirmed. Sometimes it's been a year and a half we have to wait, at which point nobody remembers that I said it, right?
mhm,
But now, literally, for example, just 2 weeks ago, and I said it here on Latino Slant, I reported from my sources that there was no Simon Kinberg trilogy, that this was a fake announcement. 24 hours later, Variety essentially put out an article contradicting the other trades, saying that this was essentially an announcement that was not right for the public, that it wasn't meant to be announced, right?
mhm.
I've never seen that kind of comment on trades unless you're publicly saying no one is acknowledging the existence of the show and it should not have been announced. And that was revealed 24 hours after I reported it, when I was the only one saying this thing ain't real, right? And the Variety confirmed it the next day. So that they are aware of this Patreon that I have, and they're
Right.
aware channels where I appear. And now there's only a handful of channels like Latino Slant, so they're very aware of this channel. And I'm glad, and apparently their system is following when I'm on, so they're aware that this video is happening.
So, on the final note, I'm pleased to learn that that Favreau and his team are very much aware of this Patreon, like you said, and
Mhm.
are pleased with my appearances on YouTube to promote accurate information
Yeah,
about what's happening on Lucasfilm. And I would also say honest, authentic, like like you're not just you're not blowing hot air and being positive to be positive.
yeah. We can critique
Um,
stuff. We critique stuff. I mean,
you critique stuff,
yeah, there's stuff
and
you don't have to like everything.
as
You
Sparrow
don't have to like
said.
everything made by people with good intentions. They're
And
doing
as
their best.
Sparrow
It
and as
works.
Sparrow says, they haven't figured out who I am, but they definitely know who you are. That's
Yeah.
the most flattering thing I've heard. since I entered this crazy world of Star Wars reporting.
Wow.
Yeah. Fletcher, any thoughts?
No, I agree because a lot of people are interested in Skeleton Crew because it has that like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Goonies kind of flavor to it, and it could be a
Mhm.
new launching pad for a lot of stuff because the way that it's set up in their kind of system, where they could bring in these characters later. It is trying to cater to a younger audience.
Mhm.
So this could be the brand new Star Wars fans that they kind of lost. Not a lot of people were interested in Star Wars from the younger generation. So I can see this as a vehicle being used to attract the younger generation. It's almost like they're doing a two pronged battle because they releasing Skeleton Crew, which is for the younger kids, and then they're also introducing Andor 2, which is obviously for the older
Mm.
audiences. So you have
Yeah.
a two pronged battle being fought right now in Lucasfilm, where they're giving you quality product because Skeleton Crew, no matter what the haters say, it looks great. And Andor, everybody knows, looks great. So it's like two quality products coming out at almost at the same time. Both gears at different age groups. It's a pretty good move for Lucasfilm.
I agree with everything you just said, Fletcher, and I think it's very smart that they're returning to children as their focus because
Right,
it doesn't, at least from what we've seen, it does not appear that there's any particular political agenda they're trying to post to children.
right,
Certainly, when the previous regime was focusing on adults, it was meant to change the attitudes or to preach an attitude to adults, which did not work itself. And I'm glad that from what we see from the trailers. It seems to be very oriented towards making children feel wonder again. And after what we've all been through, these children need wonder. They've been through a lot. I mean, the last 5 years has been hard for everybody. The pandemic
Mm.
harder for them. It was very damaging for children in schools, and they need wonder. They need magic. They need to believe that they can be heroes and not just be trapped in a world that is dominated by adults who are doing things that are causing them pain. They need to have a sense of agency, and that I hope is what Skeleton Crew gives them.